Part 19. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the God-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 181. Arrogant. As one of the 9 pillar gods, Seth felt that he was offended. In an instant, violent Genkai burst out, and a dark cloud condensed over the entire demon city because of Seth's Genkai. An unsettling aura began to gather around Seth. But before Seth could react, Lu Jin was already in front of him. What a speed! Seth's heart tightened and he began to retreat quickly. But no matter how hard he retreated, Lu Jin still followed him closely. Base. Xianyuan ancient sword is unsheathed. The sword energy containing the supreme dragon energy attacks directly towards Seth. At this time, Seth did not dare to neglect at all, and the newly condensed true energy was immediately poured into the golden scepter. When Seth felt his arms go numb and barely resisted Lu Jin's attack. His face was pale, and it was obvious that he was suppressed by Lu Jin and was out of breath. But Lu Jin didn't give him a chance to breathe, and the next attack came again. Cut! Xianyuan ancient sword slashed down. Seth immediately raised the golden scepter in his hand. But then, a sudden change occurred, and the Xianyuan ancient sword in Lu Jin's hand glowed with light. Brush! Xianyuan ancient sword passed directly through the golden scepter. Seeing this scene, Seth's eyes widened with disbelief. How can it be? His golden scepter was a weapon given by the pharaoh himself. Even the attack from the immortal realm can be easily blocked by the scepter. But now, Xianyuan ancient sword actually passed through the defense of the golden scepter. Even though Seth tried his best to resist, Xianyuan ancient sword still left a deep wound on his chest. The blood fell to the ground and was instantly evaporated into rich infuriating energy. But at this moment, everyone's attention was focused on Seth's golden scepter. I saw that the golden scepter was broken into 2 sections in the middle, and the cut surface was extremely smooth as a mirror. But Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling next to them felt palpitations in their hearts. Because they had fought against Seth, they knew very well that the golden scepter in Seth's hand was definitely a divine weapon. But such a being was actually split in half by Lu Jin using the Xianyuan ancient sword. This shows that the ancient Xianyuan sword in Lu Jin's hand is far superior to the golden scepter. What a terrifying magic weapon, this Longhan actually has such a foundation. It looks like we are afraid that the mission will fail. No, not necessarily, maybe we still have a chance. You mean? That's right. At this moment, Fang Xianling looked towards the battlefield where Lu Jin and Seth were. No matter how weak Seth is, he is still a demigod, and he might have some trump cards that he hasn't used yet. It would take a lot of effort for Lu Jin to kill Seth. And after the 2 of them fight, one of them will be seriously injured. Why don't they just sit back and enjoy the benefits? Having said this, Yu Qigong immediately understood. But Yu Qigong was still worried. If they were defeated, then the entire Demon Tang army might be destroyed. Longhan has a strong background, we must report this information to His Majesty. Yu Qigong was ready to die on the battlefield. Therefore, he thought that he would at least pass on useful information so that Monarch Tang would be wary of Longhan. Fang Xianling next to him also understood and nodded. But the next second, Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling froze on the spot. Because Zhang Hongyi's head was already in Mo Lubu's hand, Yao Daji next to him chuckled lightly, his eyes full of teasing. Want to tip off something? Sorry, you are all going to die here today. Saint. He is also a saint. They are all saints. A true saint. Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling suddenly felt a chill behind them. Standing in front of them were the many generals and advisors brought by Lu Jin. Yao Daji has long noticed Zhang Hongyi, the alien lord, and she also knows very well that if Zhang Hongyi passes on the situation here to the alien lord of Yaotang, then the demon king of Tang dynasty will notice the existence of Longhan. This is not a good thing for Long Han now. Therefore, Lu Jin began to manage the foreign lords from the time he unified and established Long Han. For those who are willing to stand on his side, he will promise a title and tie him to Long Han's chariot. If they reveal the news about Long Han before the lords of other regions, it will be tantamount to destroying their own foundation. Of course, the remaining lords who were unwilling to cooperate with Lu Jin were all eliminated by him. After all, the Black Guards are all over Long Han, and he has already known the location of the alien lord's territory. Naturally, it doesn't take much effort to clear them up. Therefore, Long Han's current situation can be said to be completely blocked. The lords in other areas only know that Long Han is the dynasty established after the unification of Lu Jin, but how strong Long Han is and how much information he has are a mystery that cannot be explored. Back on the battlefield, Yao Daji and others immediately withdrew from the battlefield after strangling Zhang Hongyi, who was the last to deliver the message. Because they knew very well that they had killed Yao Tang's last retreat. Now they are destined to die. It's not a good idea to jump around in front of a general who knows that he will definitely die. When Yao Daji and others retreated, Yu Qigong looked gloomy. Now, they are truly alone. The only way is to get the key. At this moment, a loud noise in the battlefield attracted the attention of Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling. Lu Jin pierced the Xianyuan ancient sword directly into Seth's heart. Blood spurted out, and Lu Jin chuckled. A demigod is a demigod. Seth fell to the ground and looked at Lu Jin as if resigned to his fate. Finally, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Long Han, the nine-pillar god said, remember it? Sooner or later, I will repay the shame I gained from you 100-fold. Hearing these words, Lu Jin had a bad feeling in his heart. This feeling was like when he met those puppets. Sure enough, the next second, Seth's breath began to decline rapidly. Clone. Lu Jin's guess was correct. The Seth in front of me is not the real nine pillars. But Lu Jin sneered, sorry, I've taken a liking to your clone. Immortal puppet technique. Lu Jin directly used the immortal puppet technique. Seth on the ground suddenly widened his eyes. He couldn't believe that his power was directly locked in the clone and could not return to the original body. Damn it! How can you use the immortal puppet technique? With the injection of true energy, the originally shriveled corpse returned to its original appearance. Lu Jin chuckled and said, why can't I use it? Before he finished speaking, Seth in front of him lost his last consciousness. Now, he has completely turned into a puppet under Lu Jin. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the god-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 182. The imagined system prompt did not appear. But this also shows that the puppet in front of him is not the true form of Set, the nine-pillar god. However, Lu Jin smiled and his eyes fell on the puppet he had just obtained. The puppet's attribute panel also appeared in front of Lu Jin at this moment. Name Pup Set. Positioning Pseudo. Nine-pillar god. Realm Demigod. Introduction. The avatar of Set, the nine-pillared god, walks in the world. He possesses Seth's divine power and part of his cultivation. But now that part of his divine power and cultivation is trapped in the body of an immortal puppet, the strength of Set, the nine-pillared god, will permanently decline. Until puppet is destroyed. Demigod puppet. I have made a lot of money this time. In a palace in ancient Egypt, Set, the nine-pillar god, suddenly opened his eyes. In an instant, the rage soaring to the sky overturned the entire palace. The palace collapsed, attracting the attention of the other Enneads. What happened, Seth? The first to arrive was Nut, the sky goddess. When Nut came to Seth, her expression suddenly became very strange. Because she could feel that Seth's cultivation and divine power had dropped a lot. Set, what's going on? How did your cultivation level drop to the level of a god? The sun god Ra also came here. Seth looked gloomy and said almost through gritted teeth. My clone has been sealed, and some of the cultivation and divine power in the clone cannot be taken back. Hearing these words, the sun god Ra couldn't help but narrow his eyes. For gods like them, clones are a means. After all, their current status does not allow them to set foot on the land of other countries casually. Once you step into the land of other countries, the gods of other countries will immediately notice it. At this time, a series of methods such as clone puppets were favored by them. They will all inject part of their own cultivation and divine power into the puppet, allowing the cloned puppet to gain cultivation far beyond that of ordinary people. Even if the clone puppet dies, they can still take back their cultivation and divine power without any loss at all. But now, an accident occurred. Seth's cultivation and divine power were actually sealed. How can this be? And Seth now only has the strength of the god-human realm, which already shows the seriousness of the matter. The sun god Ra looked at Seth and asked in a heavy tone. Then what are you going to do next? I plan to go to Sakura to get back my lost cultivation. Before Seth could finish his words, Nut, the sky goddess beside him, interrupted him. Aren't you afraid of disturbing the gods in Gao Tianyuan? What are you afraid of? Now the keys have fallen into the hands of others. If I'm a step later, maybe my godhood will be taken away by others. Speaking of godhead, both the sun god and the sky goddess frowned. Godhead is something that must be used to become a god. If there is no godhead, even if you become a god, you are just a false god. There is another gap between true god and false god. Before the sun god and sky goddess could say anything else, Set jumped into the sky and ran towards the land of cherry blossoms. Originally, the sky goddess wanted to say something, but the sun god Ra stopped her directly. Just in time, let Seth go find out what the attitude of the guys in Gao Tianyuan is. At this moment, the demon capital of Sakura Kingdom is in ruins. Lu Jin's eyes fell on Yuchi Gong and Fang Xianling. Now Yuchi Gong and Fang Xianling, the traces of demonization on their bodies are already very obvious. Especially Yuchi Gong, whose body surface is now covered with monster hair. It seems that he now has the appearance of a monster. At this time, Yuchi Gong and Fang Xianling also laid their eyes on Lu Jin. Because after Seth was killed by Lu Jin, the key naturally fell into Lu Jin's hands. Lu Jin looked at the key in his hand. The system did not display his attribute panel. But just by looking at it, you can tell that this key must be a prop that opens a certain place. And this place is very likely to be the location of the Godhead. Do you two have anything else to say? Lu Jin looked down at Yuchi Gong and Fang Xianling. Yuchi Gong and Fang Xianling looked at each other, thinking that there would definitely be a winner between Seth and Lu Jin. But they never expected that Lu Jin would actually refine Seth's corpse into a puppet. The key is that this puppet actually has the power of a demigod. How to spell? They now have to face a demigod puppet, and Lu Jin who can kill demigods. For a moment, Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling felt a cold sweat break out from behind. Run! Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling made a decisive decision and quickly left the battlefield. A head-on battle leads to death. There may be a chance of escape. But at this moment, Yao Daji and others quickly appeared. The two looked at the two parties who had turned into puppets, and immediately understood what had happened. Position General. Before their deaths, both Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling took the elixir and the demon soul to unite. That is, where is the Godhead? Realm Immortal Realm. Good. Cut. But after he died and was turned into a puppet by Lu Jin, he no longer had such worries. Now, it's time to discuss the issue we are most concerned about. Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling, who were originally dead, came back to life. Realm Immortal Realm. Seeing Yu Qigong's head fall to the ground, Fang Xianling's eyes widened. Now, strictly speaking, they have become half human and half demon beings. Position Counselor. Next, is it his turn? Introduction. After being demonized, Yuchi Gong was finally refined into a puppet after layers of blessings. At least now he doesn't have any worries. At this time, Lu Jin looked at Yuchi Gong and Fang Xianling. Seeing the attributes of the two people, Lu Jin couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly. Originally, Lu Jin forcibly refined them into puppets in order to ask for specific information about the Godhead. And what exactly is this key the key to? But he didn't expect that by accident, he got two puppets in the immortal realm. Lu Jin chuckled and sent Fang Xianling on his way. Name puppet. Fang Xianling. But after the two men died, Lu Jin used the immortal puppet technique again. It was originally a strength increase with side effects. An unexpected bonus. Introduction. His soul has been entangled with the soul of the monster beast, and he can no longer become a normal person, but fortunately, he has no worries now, he is dead. Name puppet. Yu Qigong. Two Fairyland puppets. Lu Jin directly killed Yu Qigong. A large net of Genkai composed of several saint-level experts fell from the sky, directly covering Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling. Instant kill. It seemed that both of them could not escape the fate of becoming puppets. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the God-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 183. Now Fang Xianling, Yu Qigong, and Seth all retain the memories of their lifetimes. But even so, they could not resist Lu Jin's order. This is the horror of the immortal puppet technique. Unfortunately, the method of using immortal puppetry is harsh. The corpse must be complete and cannot be dead for too long, otherwise even if it is refined into a puppet, there will be a series of problems such as memory loss and strength regression. However, the memory and strength of Yu Qigong and others are now at their peak. Soon, Lu Jin learned what the Godhead was from Seth. I didn't expect that the realm of gods and humans is not the end of the realm. Divine realm. Although there is a word for God in it, it is not a true God. Above the realm of gods and humans, one needs divine personality to transform into a god. If there is no Godhead, even if you force a breakthrough, it will be nothing more than a false god. The number of godheads in the entire Hunyuan continent is fixed. In other words, only when one god dies can a new god be born. Oh. So, there is a fallen god in Sakura country. That's right. The demon Tang, Vikings, and ancient Egypt received this news and hurried to Sakura country. The key in Lu Jin's hand is the key to the Sakura kingdom. Lu Jin was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the key in his hand was the key to opening the kingdom of God. Interesting. So next, it's time to ask how to use this key. Seth led the way, leading Lu Jin through the demon city and to a cave at the back of the demon city. There are two little demons guarding the entrance to the cave. Lu Jin raised his hand and killed the two little demons directly. Now, the demon city has been completely destroyed, and even if these little demons react, they can't do anything. Arriving inside the cave, Lu Jin saw the closed door. The key in his hand just fits the keyhole of the door. Turn the key, and the stone door in front of you slowly opens. In an instant, Lu Jin felt a strong spiritual energy coming towards his face. The richness of this kind of spiritual energy is almost comparable to that of Qianlong City. It seems that I have found the right place. Walking into the door, the view in front of you suddenly opens up. This is the location of Sakura Kingdom, Takamagahara. However, when Lu Jin stepped into Jiaoshunyuan, what he saw was a ruin. Without the prosperity of the kingdom of God, all that is left are ruins one after another. Lu Jin touched his chin, looked at the dilapidated scene around him, and couldn't help but look at Seth. Puppet's face was solemn, as if he had seen something extraordinary. Sakura Kingdom has turned into this, No wonder a godhead appears. What kind of existence can actually destroy the entire kingdom of God? It seems that compared to the Godhead, this existence that destroys the kingdom of God is our biggest threat. Seth was talking to himself, and I have to say that the scene in front of him was too shocking. After all, this is the kingdom of God, where the gods live. If Gao Tianyuan was destroyed, wouldn't Olympus and a series of other divine kingdoms be in danger as well? But soon, Puppet realized that he was already a puppet, so why should he worry about that kind of thing? It was also the first time for Lu Jin to step into a place like the kingdom of God, and he was very curious about everything. Lu Jin touched his chin and looked around. At this moment, he noticed an extremely powerful aura. Although this aura is powerful, it has obviously reached the end of its strength. Lu Jin took a step forward and finally found a dying man among the ruins. Pust glanced at the man and spoke proactively. This person only has a first-level cultivation, and should be the lowest level of divine servant. First-level realm. Lu Jin couldn't help but sigh after learning about the opponent's level. An ordinary being who can be called a master in the outside world is nothing more than a divine servant in the kingdom of God. When the man saw Lu Jin and others, he seemed to be grasping at straws. "Help me." Listening to the man's cry for help, Lu Jin asked very calmly. "Tell me, what happened here?" Seeing that Lu Jin was unmoved, the man knew that if he didn't answer truthfully, the other party would probably not take any action. So, the man said immediately. "It's an alien god. The alien gods invaded and destroyed Gao Tianyuan." Outer god. Did gods from other divine kingdoms attack Gao Tianyuan? Interesting. Lu Jin frowned slightly and looked in the direction from which the axe was flying. The corners of Lu Jin's mouth raised slightly. He did not expect that the battle between gods and gods would be so fierce. Yu Qigong and Fang Xianling next to him immediately understood and they rushed out immediately. "Is this the Godhead?" At this moment, Puppet Set moved. At this time, Posette seemed to feel something. "What are you waiting for?" "Very good. Bloody enough, but I must also get the divine status today." The holder of the flying axe was a 2-meter-tall Viking. The Viking looked at the Godhead in Lu Jin's hand and showed an extremely greedy look. Lu Jin decisively set his sights on the Godhead. Quality red god level. Sure enough, the system's property panel immediately appeared in Lu Jin's field of vision. Caliph held the axe tightly with both hands. The axe in his hand seemed to be alive, with blood-red veins all over its body. And on his chest, there was an existence that could be called a perfect cube, just suspended in the air. I didn't expect that we were a step too late after all. Buzz. Soon, the four of them arrived at the place where the Godhead fell as Posette said. Lu Jin smiled slightly, raised his hand, and the great energy was condensed in his hand, and he directly grasped the Godhead in his palm. Lu Jin immediately became energetic when he mentioned these two words. Effect: a new realm can be unlocked after use. Name: Godhead. But the moment he retracted his powerful hand, a flying axe fell directly on the spot. I have noticed the existence of Godhead. Lu Jin frowned slightly and snorted coldly. I saw a strange being lying in the ruins. Red god level quality. As a Viking, Caliph prepared for more than 10 years to obtain godhood. The leader of the Viking pirates did not expect that the other party had no intention of discussing with him and would just start fighting. And Caliph's aura keeps soaring along with the increasingly ferocious weapons. Now that I have finally encountered what I have dreamed of, I have to grab it even if I have to spend all my money on it. The Viking pirates on the opposite side shouted, asking Lu Jin to hand over his Godhead. Godhead. Godhead is a unique thing, and Lu Jin doesn't want to miss it. Boy, hand over your Godhead and we can pretend that nothing happened. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the God-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 184. Boom. Pust punched out directly towards Harov. Facing Pupset's attack, Halef immediately raised the bloody axe in his hand. With a muffled sound, Halef took a few steps back. Lujin saw that Harov only took a few steps back and narrowed his eyes slightly. I have some interest in this Viking pirate whose realm is comparable to that of a saint. As early as when Harov appeared, Lujin realized that his realm was only that of a saint. In fact, his aura was unstable. It was obvious that he had just broken through to the saint realm, and even the realm was not stable. But this kind of existence actually blocked Puppet's attack. Puzet is an existence in the demigod realm. Even if it is a blow with bare hands, it is not something that an ordinary saint can withstand. The only problem is probably the bloody giant axe in his hand. It had to be said that Lujin couldn't see through the bloody giant axe. This bloody giant axe has a weird aura all over it. After Halef blocked Puppet's attack, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. He looked at the bloody axe in his hand with enthusiasm in his eyes. Now, we are fair. A ray of light burst out from Halef's eyes, and veins popped out in his arms. In an instant, a mountain-like aura spurted out from the bloody giant axe. Cut it down with one blow. The earth-shattering blow seemed to split the aloof divine kingdom in half. At this moment, even Lujin couldn't help but release his true energy to resist the huge pressure from the bloody giant axe. Interesting. Lujin could feel his scabbard trembling. Xianyuan ancient sword seemed to have finally met an opponent that it could use its full strength, and it couldn't wait to take it out of its sheath to compete with it. But Lujin directly patted the hilt of the sword to signal Xianyuan ancient sword to be quiet. Lujin took action, and Xianyuan ancient sword suddenly became quiet. In this way, Lujin looked at the battle between Halef the blood axe and Puppet set in the sky. It has to be said that the bloody axe in the hands of the Viking pirate Caliph is infinitely powerful. From just a few rounds of fighting, Lujin could tell a few things. First of all, the material of this bloody giant axe is definitely not ordinary. Facing Pauset's attacks, Halef often used his giant axe as a shield to resist. Then comes the second characteristic, absorbing infuriating energy. That's right. With Puppet's strength, even a punch has extremely amazing power. But Halef, who was in the saint realm, only took a few steps back after resisting. More than 90% of the force was absorbed by the bloody giant axe. This prevented Harov from suffering too much harm. The most critical point is that this bloody giant axe seems to have an automatic trimming function. Several times, Caliph showed fatal flaws. But every time Puppet wanted to seize the flaw and give him a fatal blow, Caliph would always resist Puppet's attack with an amazing reaction. Lujin can be 100% sure that this is definitely not Caliph's fault. What a pity. If this blood axe is in Puppet's hands, it will definitely be 200% effective. But it's a pity that in the hands of Harif in the saint realm, it's like a child picking up a mace. Although you can use the blood axe to exert a power that can be called a demigod, after all, you are only in the saint realm. Really? At this time, the situation of the war suddenly changed. Puppet threw out a punch, and Halef used the blood axe to block it again. But after punching out, Pust followed up with a second punch, a third punch, a fourth punch. Even without weapons and bare hands, Puppet's attacks cannot be underestimated. The dense attacks fell like a torrential rain. Suddenly, with the last punch, Halef spurted out a mouthful of blood. Although the blood axe can reduce more than 90% of the damage, it is not 100% resistant after all. After being hurt bit by bit, Caliph's body finally couldn't bear it anymore. Seizing this opportunity, Pauset's eyes lit up. There is a flaw. But just when Puppet was about to punch out, the blood axe suddenly took off his hand and struck directly at Puppet. Waste. Suddenly, a voice full of divinity came from the blood axe. Blood axe actually turned the spearhead and killed Halef directly. Calip's eyes widened and he couldn't believe that he would be killed by the weapon he held. After Blood Axe absorbed Calip's blood, the lines on its body surface became more obvious. Humph. This waste can't bring out my true strength at all. As for you, you are just a puppet, and you are not worthy of being my new wielder. Therefore, Lu Jin looked at the god-killing Blood Axe and said nothing. When Lu Jin, who was watching the battle, didn't expect that things would happen so weirdly. After killing Caliph, Blood Axe naturally began to look for a new host. Its eyes glanced around the area and finally landed on Lu Jin. Ah! The Xianyuan ancient sword, which had long been unable to hold back, burst out directly. It seems that your wielder is indeed a strong man, able to train you to such an extent. Now, he met Lu Jin, and it felt that the person in front of him was its most suitable holder. Lu Jin chuckled and raised his hand. For a weapon, meeting a wielder who treats you well is naturally a lifelong pursuit. But it's just this that makes me even more excited. Sensing the aura of the Xianyuan ancient sword, the god-killing Blood Axe seemed to sense something and immediately resisted. What? When you meet me, you don't kneel down to greet me. Whoosh. Accompanied by a crisp metal collision, there was a sound in the sky. The god-killing Blood Axe actually killed his original host and targeted Lu Jin. The battle between artifacts and artifacts has officially begun. First of all, I am not good at using an axe. Why don't you kneel down and thank me? I am the god-killing Blood Axe. It should be your honor to become my host. A bright light appeared in the sky. You have such a strong sense of national destiny, it's decided to be you. At the same time, he now possesses the Xianyuan ancient sword. Xianyuan ancient sword directly struck the body of the god-killing Blood Axe. But Lu Jin had no intention of accepting it. Unfortunately, it is too weak and is not the choice for the god-killing Blood Axe after all. However, although your aura is powerful, your spiritual intelligence has not yet been developed. You are actually an artifact too. Huh? The breath of the artifact. And the god-killing Blood Axe naturally wants to find a perfect holder. Seeing that Lu Jin was unmoved, god-killing Blood Axe was obviously a little unhappy. But after waiting for many years, only Halef in the Saint Realm was like a thing. Xianyuan ancient sword is more in line with Lu Jin's usage habits in every aspect. The god-killing Blood Axe just wanted to use him as a springboard to find a more suitable holder. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the god-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 185. Looking at the constant collision between Xianyuan ancient sword and god-killing Blood Axe in the sky, Lu Jin couldn't help but frown slightly. Now the Viking forces have been almost wiped out. Lu Jin didn't want to stay in Gao Tianyuan for too long. After all, this was the kingdom of God. Now that he has obtained the Godhead, his top priority is to quickly leave Gao Tianyuan and return to Longhan. Now although the gods of Gao Tianyuan have disappeared. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. If they found out that they had taken away a godhead, they would definitely go crazy. After all, Pauset has said before that the godhead has unique special characteristics. If you take this godhead from Sakura, Sakura will always have one less god from now on. Even if someone steps into the realm of gods and humans, they are just false gods. Besides, he refined Seth's clone into a puppet. Make sure his true form is already on the way. Considering various reasons, Lu Jin also felt that it was time for him to return to Longhan to recuperate. When he reached his own territory, even if Seth himself came, he would not be afraid at all. Thinking of this, Lu Jin looked at the Xianyuan ancient sword in the sky. Stop playing around and resolve the battle quickly. After saying that, Lu Jin raised his hand, and several dragons soared into the sky. Seeing the dragon energy rushing towards him, Xianyuan ancient sword was overjoyed and flicked away the god-killing Blood Axe with one strike. The god-killing blood axe watched helplessly as Xianyuan ancient sword swallowed up the dragon energy, and its pressure increased several times. At this moment, even the god-killing blood axe felt the pressure. Damn it! Feeling the aura within Xianyuan ancient sword's body surge, god-killing blood axe felt a twinge of jealousy. Why? A mere guy who was not even born with intelligence. To be able to have such a powerful holder. No, I'm not convinced. The god-killing blood axe suddenly surged, the lines on his body were densely covered, and his aura suddenly surged several times. It is very clear that the next blow will be the time for the two of them to decide the winner. As Pupset looked at the two artifacts facing each other for Lu Jin in the sky, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Ordinary artifacts are proud. For example, in order to gain the recognition of the god-killing blood axe, Caliph spent an unknown amount of money to obtain the right to use it. But now, the two artifacts are fighting over one holder. Judging from the pressure built up in the sky, I am afraid that the next blow will determine the outcome. But one thing is certain, that is, the failed artifact will not end well. When? At this moment, the Xianyuan ancient sword and the god-killing blood axe collided. The space shook, and everyone raised their chi barriers to block the aftermath of the two artifacts. As for Gao Tianyuan, who was not protected by anything, with the two artifacts at the center, dense cracks like spider webs spread directly for thousands of miles. This terrifying pressure fluctuation instantly attracted the attention of a being in the distance. Lu Jin noticed something was wrong, and he immediately recalled the Xianyuan ancient sword. I saw the Xianyuan ancient sword turned into a stream of light and penetrated directly into his scabbard. And above the sky, the god-killing blood axe, which was originally still intact, turned into fragments one after another and fell from the sky. Lu Jin waved his hand and captured all the fragments in his hand. Walk. Feeling that the premonition was getting worse, Lu Jin made a decisive decision and immediately withdrew from Gao Tianyuan. He obtained a godhead in Gao Tianyuan, and also obtained a bunch of artifact fragments. How long will it take if he doesn't retreat now? Lu Jin has never been a particularly greedy person. Especially in this situation, now that godhead has been obtained, it's time for him to retreat with a firm hand. Soon, Lu Jin withdrew from Jiaoshenyuan and returned to Changgang City. At this time, his troops had almost wiped out the remaining Sakura daimyo. Lu Jin went to collect the Chi of National Destiny. After collecting everything, he could almost return to Longhan. But what Lu Jin didn't know was that right after he left Gao Tianyuan, Seth's true form came to Gao Tianyuan. Looking at the deserted Jiaoshan plain, Seth frowned. What's the situation? Why did Gao Tianyuan become like this? Could it be that guy who did it? No. Although that guy's methods are weird, they are not enough to completely destroy a kingdom of God. But at this moment, the void shattered, and a strange giant eye appeared above Gao Tianyuan. Seeing that weird giant eye, Seth almost had a nervous breakdown. What the hell is this? Boom. Gao Tianyuan made a violent sound. The winner takes all. The current strength is only at the first level. Lu Jin is not sure whether Shinu's Haizi, who is above the first level, can make this god-level material into a weapon. Really obliterated. At this moment, everyone discovered that the names of the Sakura lords they originally knew had turned gray. Lu Jin picked up a fragment of the artifact, and an attribute panel appeared in front of Lu Jin. Lu Jin looked at the god-level material in front of him and couldn't help but touch his chin. They can't even send a private message at this time. All Sakura lords wiped out? Originally, Lu Jin was still thinking about how to arrange the remaining natives and lords of the Sakura country. World announcement: Sakura Kingdom is destroyed and all Sakura lords are wiped out. The best blacksmith in his territory is God Ajiko. World announcement: all the national destiny of Sakura country has been lost. If it can be made into a weapon, it will be like having an extra trump card. If Lu Jin had not defeated the Sakura Kingdom, then the lords of the Sakura Kingdom would sooner or later regard Lu Jin as a thorn in their side. Even if Sakura country survives, there is no chance for it to turn around. Godhead. Lu Jin, who had just returned to Longhan, couldn't help but be a little surprised. Lu Jin returned to Longhan Palace and took out his biggest harvest in Sakura Kingdom. Introduction: the material produced after the artifact God-killing blood axe is broken contains violent divine power. It is not possible for a mortal to forge it into an artifact again. However, even so, Lu Jin did not feel guilty at all. Name: Blood Iron of God. Now it's okay, the system directly helps him to take care of the entire Sakura Kingdom in one pot. The Kingdom of God collapsed, and the destiny of the country was robbed. God-level material. I thought that the national war and the district war would be different, but I didn't expect that the ending of failure would be so cruel. Its power is comparable to that of his Xianyuan ancient sword, so Lu Jin doesn't mind having another artifact in his territory. And artifact fragments. At this time, the world announcement sounded. At this moment, the world is silent. But because Shenujaiza is a logistics talent, his strength is not very strong. The Saint Realm can rival the Divine Realm. Quality: Red God level. World announcement: Sakura Kingdom has been destroyed. After all, he has already seen the power of the God-killing blood axe. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the God-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 186. Thinking of this, Lu Jin picked up the artifact fragments and walked towards where the god Oyuzhiza was. Soon we arrived at the blacksmith shop. There are many blacksmith shops in Qianlong City, but this blacksmith shop is the only one that can truly be called the number one. If you want to build equipment here, you must have a high status in Longhan. And now, Oyuzhiza was forging the iron block in his hand into a weapon, hammer after hammer. After a series of operations, a sharp sword was forged in Oyuzhiza's hands. If this sword is placed in the outside world, it will definitely be a priceless magic weapon. But Oyuzhiza just glanced at it and handed it directly to Zhao Yun next to him. Oh, it's hard for a clever woman to make a meal without rice. How can she create a shocking magical weapon using only ordinary materials? Listening to Oyuzhiza's sigh, Zhao Yun put the sword into the warehouse and smiled bitterly. Master, these materials can be considered rare items in the outside world. Your demands are too high. Oyuzhiza did not refute, because the conditions in Qianlong City were indeed good. Although the materials he used were ordinary, they were considered rare items in the outside world. But as a swordsmith who strives for excellence, why wouldn't he want to create a powerful magical weapon with his own hands? That's all, let's rest early today. Oyuzhiza also had no intention of continuing to forge weapons. But just when he was about to call it a day, Lu Jin walked in. Zhao Yun was shocked when he saw Lu Jin and immediately raised his hands. I have met His Majesty. His Majesty? Oyuzhiza's expression changed drastically and he couldn't help but look towards the door. It was Lu Jin standing at the door. I have met His Majesty. At this time, Oyuzhiza did not dare to be negligent and quickly saluted respectfully. Lu Jin waved his hand, indicating that they didn't need to be polite. No need to be polite, I came here today because I have materials that need to be forged. Have materials? Hearing these words, Oyuzhiza couldn't help but his eyes lit up. The materials that Lu Jin could personally bring must be extraordinary. At this moment, Oyuzhiza was already looking forward to it. Seeing that the other party was looking forward to it, Lu Jin took out the blood iron of God. The moment the god's blood iron appeared, Oyuzhiza's expression changed drastically. He looked at the blood iron of God in Lu Jin's hand with a look of disbelief on his face, as if he was looking at some shocking treasure. After looking at it for a long time, Oyuz Haizha said very seriously, "Your Majesty, I can't do it. The value of this material is beyond anything I knew. Although I have the means to make it into a weapon, with my current strength, forging this magical iron is tantamount to a waste of natural resources. Therefore, in summary, Oyuz Haizha needs to improve his strength before he can start forging this magical iron." Upon hearing this answer, Lu Jin expressed his understanding. This situation had been expected by him, so he was not surprised. Lu Jin took out the token from the Time and Space Palace and handed it to Oyuz Haizha. "This is the token of the Time and Space Palace. From today on, you must suspend all activities in your hands and concentrate on your cultivation. When you reach the level of a saint, you may be able to forge this magical iron." After receiving the token, Oyuz Haizha quickly knelt down and thanked him. He originally didn't care about his own cultivation. After all, it is enough for him to forge weapons in Qianlong City. But the appearance of Shentai once again ignited Oyuz Haizha's long-dormant cultivation heart. In order to forge this material in a better condition, he must go all out. After Oyuz Haizha was arranged, Lu Jin was not idle and immediately summoned everyone to Longhan Hall. For a time, the civil and military officials from all over the dynasty gathered in Longhan Hall. Lu Jin sat high on the Longhan Hall, looking down at all living beings. Yao Daji, Amolu Buletin and other advisors and generals were also very curious when they heard that Lu Jin was going to summon them. After all, Longhan Palace would basically not call them here unless it was a critical moment. Now, everyone is gathered together to explain that something important has happened. "Everyone, we have gained a lot from this trip to Sakura Island. But at the same time, we also learned something. That is the existence of the kingdom of God." With that said, Lu Jin looked at Puppet in the audience. As an avatar of one of the 9 pillars of ancient Egypt, Posette knew a great deal about the gods. Every country will have a kingdom of God. And this kingdom of God is naturally the area where the gods are located. Just like the previous saint realm existences, the immortal realm and the divine realm strongmen all have their own areas. Gao Tianyuan is the location of the divine kingdom of Sakura Kingdom. But now it has disappeared, destroyed by some unknown existence. This is revenge from a god. As soon as he finished speaking, Puppet looked around and began to observe the expressions of other people. Kingdom of God. What King Wei wants to say is what I want to say. I only need 50,000 years. They now have a brand new enemy, the real gods. Lu Jin glanced at everyone present and then spoke. Sooner or later, the true body will come here, destroy me, and take back his cultivation and divine power. Becoming a god seems to them to be as easy as eating and drinking. In addition, I am the clone of Set, the ancient Egyptian 9-pillar god. But it actually took 100,000 years for King Wei to become a god. It's different for me. I only need 80,000 years. Cao. But now I am separated from him and have become a unique individual. Before Liu Bei could finish speaking, Sun Jian stood up. The appearance of Puxet popularized the existence of the kingdom of God to everyone. Are they crazy? And Puppet was also stunned on the spot. What's going on? Before Cao could finish speaking, Xia Liu Bei stood up directly. What? Give me 100,000 years, and I will definitely break through and become a god, and my visitors will be slain by my sword. Then this god must be very powerful. Starting from tomorrow, I will give each of you 10,000 year access to the Time and Space Palace. It depends on you how far you can practice. Cao's eyes widened and he looked at Xia Liu Bei with complicated expressions. And Sakura country has a divine kingdom, and Longxia naturally also has a divine kingdom. As soon as these words came out, everyone in Longhan Hall couldn't help but take a breath of air. So, in addition to the distant kingdom of God, it is imperative that we prepare to face the revenge of a real God. As a result, a shocking scene appeared for Pust. Where are the powerful people in the immortal realm and divine realm? Cao stood up first, with a cunning light shining in his eyes. Where are you, Juanima? Therefore, a sense of crisis came to Lu Jin's heart. Since he is so powerful, it must take great strength to fight against him. Your Majesty, I have the courage to ask your Majesty to grant me the token authority of the 100,000-year time and space palace. Could it be that they have gone crazy after losing their minds? The power of gods is extremely terrifying, shouldn't you be afraid and frightened? Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the god-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 187. Although the authority only lasts for 10,000 years, it is enough for Cao and others. All of them who were able to serve under Lu Jin were extremely talented and beautiful. If it were an ordinary person, I am afraid that within 10,000 years, they would have returned to dust and returned to dust. But for Cao and others, perhaps 10,000 years are enough for them to achieve huge growth. Jixia Academy is fully open. You can cooperate with the books in Jixia Academy to assist in your cultivation. Just improving your cultivation is far from enough. You have to work steadily to ensure that your cultivation is stable and you are proficient in Taoism. In the future, we will face the invasion of many enemies, not only the Demon Tang dynasty, but also the kingdom of God above the sky. So, for the sake of Longhan and for yourselves, practice well. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes widened and they couldn't believe their ears. Jixia Academy is fully open? They didn't know how many times they had coveted the legendary books in Jixia Academy. But if you want to read books, it is as difficult as obtaining permission from the Time and Space Palace. Unexpectedly, Lu Jin actually fully opened the reading rights to these books this time. But this also reminded everyone that the enemies they would face in the future were more terrifying than they imagined. After all the resources were allocated, Lu Jin waved his hand, and Cao and others immediately exited the Longhan Palace, turned around, and devoted themselves to cultivating feverishly. After everyone exited, Lu Jin looked at Pust and others. They have been made into puppets by Lu Jin, and their cultivation base has basically been fixed here. Most of the methods Lu Jin has now can no longer improve their cultivation base. Therefore, Lu Jin simply kept him by his side as a guard. At the same time, Puppet Qigong, and others can also provide Lu Jin with a lot of useful information. Pup said, "Do you have any useful information about Long Xia's kingdom of God?" Now that Lu Jin has obtained divine status, it is only a matter of time before he becomes a god. And once he becomes a god, he will definitely face the Longxia divine kingdom. Therefore, knowing some information in advance will also be helpful to his future development. Puppet glanced at Lu Jin and told Lu Jin the known information he had obtained. The information I know is very limited, because among all countries, Long Xia's kingdom of God is the strongest. Even among the 4 ancient countries in the world, Long Xia's strength and the kingdom of God are well deservedly powerful. But unlike the divine kingdoms of other countries, Long Xia's divine kingdom is also the most low-key. In Pao Zed's memory, Long Xia's kingdom was the most low-key and secretive one. They never interfere in any battles within Long Xia territory. Even the people's prayers and beliefs did not respond at all. Such a low-key existence has always made other divine kingdoms think that Long Xia does not have a divine kingdom. But until a god king from Olympus stepped into the territory of Longxia, that day they saw an unforgettable sight. A thunder struck from the sky, and the god king was instantly killed on the spot. The fallen godhead was snatched away by a golden hand. At this moment, Long Xia divine kingdom appeared and took action with ruthless means. It was wiped out in ashes. The kingdom of Olympus also thought about asking for godhead. But the result is that they have caught up with the life and godhead of a god king. From then on, all the gods did not dare to step into the territory of Longzia easily. However, this all happened a long time ago. Now that I am a demigod, stepping into the territory of Longzia should attract the attention of Longzia Divine Kingdom. But now, no vision has occurred. I'm afraid something has happened in Longzia Divine Kingdom. Having said this, Posette did not continue. After Lu Jin heard these words, he began to touch his chin. God once invaded, and thunder took action. Now that the demigod has entered the country, there is no movement at all. Is it because Puppet was made into a puppet by himself, so Longzia Divine Kingdom regards him as one of its own? So, wouldn't it mean that he is always under the surveillance of the kingdom of God? But if they are monitoring themselves, they will definitely take action against the Godhead in their hands. After all, his ambitions are obvious to the world. If he becomes a god, he may not necessarily cooperate with the kingdom of God. Therefore, if there is an understanding God among them, they will definitely take action to snatch their own Godhead, thereby creating an obedient God to help them. But they didn't take action. That means they are probably in some kind of trouble now and have no time to take care of themselves. If this is the case, it will be good and bad for Lu Jin. The good thing is that the kingdom of God doesn't have to worry about him, so he can develop wildly. By the time the kingdom of God reacts, he may have become so powerful that even the kingdom of God cannot control him. At least, at that time, I was free. But the disadvantage is that if the kingdom of God does not take action, the true body of Puppet Set will come to the territory of Longzia. With his current foundation, it is more than enough to kill a god-man realm. But what if his realm is above the realm of gods and humans? According to Posette, above the realm of gods and humans is the realm of true gods. At that time, he was truly a god, not a human being. If faced with a true god, would I be sure? Lu Jin sighed softly. Sure enough, there are people outside the world, and the memory of his previous life can no longer help him here. Now I see a more distant existence. But this also inspired Lu Jin's ambition even more. He wanted to become stronger and manage his territory into an existence more powerful than the kingdom of God. Only when you become invincible can you gain true freedom. At this moment, a voice came from outside. Your Majesty, Mr. Oyuz Heize wants to see you. Oyuz Heize? Is he out of confinement? Lu Jin motioned for him to come in. Soon, Oyuz Heize, who exuded the aura of a saint, walked into the Longhan Hall. Have you reached the realm of sainthood? Not bad. After all, Oyuz Heize is not a combatant, so the saint realm is considered a good realm for Lu Jin. Oyuz Heize bowed his hands and then looked at Lu Jindao. Reporting to your Majesty, I am fortunate to have lived up to my command and finally raised my cultivation level to the realm of a saint. Now, I can mobilize my true energy to increase my firepower. At the same time, during my training, I have mastered the forging method of God's blood iron. So, to show that my practice is successful, your Majesty is invited to go to my humble residence to see the results of my practice. In addition, your Majesty, it's time for your 9-dragon helmet to be upgraded. You happen to have the blood iron of God in hand. Why don't you let me help your Majesty to upgrade the equipment? Upgrade the 9-dragon helmet? Lu Jin nodded. His Xianyuan ancient sword had been upgraded. But his 9-dragon helmet has not been upgraded yet. It happened that Oyuz Heize had just come out of seclusion, so he used this 9-dragon helmet to see how Oyuz Heize's skills were now. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the god-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 188. Call. Fierce flames danced in the furnace, but now it was just a wisp of mortal fire. It looks ferocious, but to Lu Jin and other practitioners, there is no threat at all. At this time, Oyuz Heize was standing in front of the stove. When he raised his hand, his true energy burst out. The flames after adding infuriating energy began to change color instantly. The flames became calmer and calmer, but the pressure within them continued to increase. A thin layer of sweat broke out on Oyu's Heise's forehead, and the flame in front of him gradually turned into pure white fire. On normal days, Oyu's Heise's Genkai could only keep the fire of Genkai alive for a stick of incense. After burning the incense, the fire of true energy will transform into ordinary fire again. But now, Oyu's Heise, who has entered the realm of a saint, has increased the quality and quantity of his true energy several times. Ajizai controlled the pure white fire of true energy to wrap around the body of God's blood iron. The fire of true energy exerted intense heat and began to corrode the blood iron of God. The blood iron of God, which was originally relatively strong, actually began to melt under the high temperature of the fire of true energy. Seeing this, Oyu's Heise's face was overjoyed, and his true energy was mobilized again. The blood iron of God in the furnace began to be tempered by Oyu's Heise. I don't know how long it took, but the wild nature of God's blood iron has been completely eliminated. Seeing this, Oyu's Heise put the 9-dragon helmet into the stove. The moment the 9-dragon helmet appeared, the blood iron of God attached to the 9-dragon helmet. Under the calcination of flame, the two gradually merge. Until the end, only the prototype of the 9-dragon helmet could be seen in the flames. Seeing this scene, Oyu's Heise immediately took the 9-dragon helmet out of the stove. Ding 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 ding. The hammer in his hand began to work. Lu Jin next to him saw that the 9-dragon helmet began to glow with a new brilliance in Oyu's Heise's hands, and he couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the Oyu's Heise now is completely different from the Oyu's Heise before. Lu Jin once asked Oyu's Heise to help him upgrade his 9-dragon helmet and Xianyuan ancient sword. But at that time, Oyu's Heise said that Lu Jin's 9-dragon helmet and Xianyuan ancient sword were already the highest quality magical weapons. If you want to continue upgrading, you must have more exquisite forging skills and materials. Oyu's Heise said that he was already a well-deserved blacksmith among mortals. If there is anyone stronger than him, it is only the gods in the sky. But now, watching Oyu's Heise easily fuse the blood iron of God and the 9-dragon helmet together, isn't he as good as a god at his level? When the last hammer fell, Oyu's Heise frowned slightly. Not even close. Oyu's Heise could clearly feel that this 9-dragon helmet was not in the most perfect condition. The most crucial point is missing. But the most critical point, like the final kick before a breakthrough, left Oyu's Heise puzzled. At this moment, the 9-dragon helmet, which had not yet completely cooled down, made a buzzing sound. Lu Jin next to him suddenly felt the dragon energy in his body resonating. Is the 9-dragon helmet thirsting for dragon energy? Interesting. Lu Jin didn't hesitate at all and directly released the dragon energy. Several dragon auras ran directly towards the 9-dragon helmet. In an instant, a dragon roar sounded in the blacksmith shop, and a terrifying aura rose into the sky. The 9-dragon helmet was shining with golden light. Oyu's Heise looked at the 9-dragon helmet with golden light and his eyes widened. That's right. The last key is dragon energy. The dragon energy is tempered and the divine iron is added to the body. The 9-dragon helmet has been officially promoted to the rank of artifact. When the golden light dissipated, the 9-dragon helmet turned into a stream of light and sank directly into Lu Jin's body. Lu Jin was a little surprised, but then he discovered that the 9-dragon helmet actually appeared in his body, and all the dragon energy formed a barrier around it. At this moment, the 9-dragon helmet seemed to have become the center of dragon energy, receiving the nourishment of dragon energy. Oh! Lu Jin summoned the 9-dragon helmet and found that the system panel actually appeared on the 9-dragon helmet. Name 9-dragon helmet. Quality red god level. Introduction. Based on the divine weapon, the divine iron is added to the body, the dragon energy is tempered, and the emperor's armor is the supreme artifact that only the emperor in the world can wear. The more dragon energy you have, the faster you grow. Growth artifact. After Lu Jin read all the attributes, he couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. The current 9 dragon helmet has transformed into an artifact, and it is an artifact that can grow. It is in the center of dragon energy. The more dragon energy, the faster it is nourished and the stronger its defense. Lu Jin looked at Oyu's Haizi and smiled, not bad. Next, for the remaining God's Blood Iron, you can build and upgrade it according to the weapons I arranged. The amount of God's Blood Iron is not that large. Lu Jin had to make a choice. The upgrade of the 9 dragon helmet has used part of the Blood Iron of God. Next, Lu Jin has already made arrangements to upgrade those weapons and build those weapons. After all, God-level materials are not something that can be obtained casually. Lu Jin, who returned to Longhan Hall, looked at his backpack. The treasure chest obtained by destroying Sakura last time has not been opened yet. Now that I finally have time, it's time to open all these treasure chests in one go. Ding, do you want to spend 100,000 gold coins to upgrade the Golden Legendary Expedition treasure chest to the Golden Legendary Optional treasure chest? Suddenly, a system prompt popped up. Treasure chest of your choice? Lu Jin hasn't encountered a self-selected treasure chest in a long time. Of course you should choose to upgrade. With the treasure chest of his own choice, Lu Jin naturally looked down on other treasure chests. Ding, do you want to open the Golden Legendary Optional treasure chest? Turn on. With a flash of golden light, a large number of items appeared in front of Lu Jin. The golden legendary items were placed in front of Lu Jin, but Lu Jin didn't seem to be interested. He directly pulled the panel to the top to see if there was a unique special item. Compared with golden legendary items, only special items can arouse Lu Jin's interest. But at this moment, an extremely dazzling colorful light came into Lu Jin's eyes. Real or fake? Colorful saint-level items. The golden legendary item treasure chest can actually produce colorful holy items? However, Lu Jin took a look at the number of items in the self-selected treasure box. If he opened the box himself, the chance of finding colorful saint-level items was 1 in 10 million. But the self-selected treasure chest is different. This probability is directly increased to 100%. Choose. Ding, congratulations on getting the blueprint of the colorful holy level building Yin Yang Genkai altar. Colorful saint level building blueprint? In other words, this thing can be built repeatedly. Lu Jin touched his chin. This was the first time he encountered such a colorful saint level building. You know, since it is a 7-color saint level building, it must have extremely powerful functions. But being able to build it repeatedly is very intriguing. Lu Jin immediately called Lu Ban and asked him to build the Yin and Yang True Energy altar first. He wanted to see what special functions this Yin Yang True Chi altar had. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the God-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 189. After receiving Lu Jin's order, Lu Ban did not dare to neglect. Gathering all the craftsmen, they immediately started building the Yin Yang Chi altar. When Lu Ban and others were building the Yin Yang True Chi altar, Lu Jin was not idle. He stepped into the time and space palace, adjusted the time multiplier to the highest level, and began to practice with concentration. Now that he knew about the existence of the kingdom of God, his urgency for cultivation became even stronger. He still needs to be stronger, at least step into the realm of gods and humans, and absorb the Godhead, so that he can have the confidence to fight against the gods. Thinking of this, Lu Jin practiced even harder in the time and space palace. I don't know how many days passed before Lu Jin stepped out of the time and space palace again. Nearly half a month had passed before Lu Jin summoned Puppet. Have there been any accidents in Qianlong City in the past half-month? Rather, what Lu Jin wanted to ask was whether Seth's true form had arrived. Pusit shook his head and said no. There's none? Is this Seth so tolerant? She refined part of his cultivation into a puppet, but he could actually endure it? But I have to say that Lu Jin still hopes that he will come as late as possible. The later he comes, the less energy he will use to deal with him. At this time, Lu Jin noticed that there was an extra building in Qianlong City. Presumably, that building is the Yin-Yang Qi altar that he asked Lu Ban to build. Good. It seems that Lu Ban's ability is really strong. It took less than half a month to build this building. With a teleport, Lu Jin came directly to the Yin-Yang Zhen Qi altar. Lu Ban and others were standing in front of the Yin-Yang Zhenkai altar, not knowing what they were looking at. When Lu Jin appeared, Lu Ban and others rushed to greet him. No need to be polite. Lu Jin waved his hand, and then took a step forward to the Yin-Yang Qi altar. When his eyes fell on the Yin-Yang Qi altar, its attribute panel also appeared in front of him. Name Yin-Yang Zhen Qi altar. Quality colorful holy products. Effect absorb the true energy and store it, and convert it into a special prop Yin-Yang stone when needed. P.S. This building is already at the highest level and cannot be upgraded. When Lu Jin finished reading the attribute panel, he couldn't help but frown slightly. The Yin-Yang Zhenkai altar, as a 7-color sacred building, actually has only one function. Moreover, it is still a building that cannot be upgraded. This can't help but make Lu Jin a little disappointed. This building is too useless. But Lu Jin wasn't about to give up yet. He stepped forward and saw a stone pillar suspended in the center of the Yin-Yang True Qi altar. He took a step forward. Lu Jin wanted to see how much true energy this Yin-Yang True Qi altar could store. Thinking of this, he put his palm against the stone pillar. The stone pillars were cold, and Lu Jin mobilized his energy. The moment he gathered his true energy on the stone pillar directly absorbed his true energy. The true energy was like a mud cow entering the sea, without any movement. Lu Jin increases his energy output. No movement. Keep outputting. Unknowingly, Lu Jin directly used all his energy and injected it crazily into the stone pillar. At this time, the Yin-Yang Qi altar lit up, as if a large amount of qi was flowing in it. But that was all, until Lu Jin let go of his palm and looked at the stone pillar in front of him. A smile appeared on his face. Good guy. I put 90% of my true energy into it, and now only the roots of the stone pillar have changed. Interesting. Lu Jin was very curious, if the Yin-Yang Qi altar is full, how much qi would be needed? At this moment, Lu Jin discovered that the stone pillar on the edge of the Yin-Yang True Qi altar actually produced a Yin-Yang stone. Picking up the Yin-Yang stone, Lu Jin saw its properties. Name Yin-Yang stone. Quality white ordinary. Effect it contains pure qi inside. After absorption, it can temporarily improve your cultivation level or replenish your qi. Replenish your true energy and improve your cultivation? Lu Jin was a little curious. Logically speaking, his qi belonged to the immortal realm. Without their own dilution and adjustment, ordinary people would only end up exploding and dying. But I didn't expect that the Yin-Yang Zhenkai altar could actually absorb Zhenkai and convert it into a storage item such as Yin-Yang stone. Good. The corners of Lu Jin's mouth raised slightly, then he pointed at one of the craftsmen and said, "Come here." In this camp, God Limu looked at the letter in his hand and frowned slightly. It wasn't until a full week passed that they barely filled the Yin-Yang Qi altar. A steady stream of infuriating energy represents a steady stream of combat power on the battlefield. Moreover, the supplies this time were special supplies, specially prepared by Lu Jin for border soldiers. His eyes widened and he couldn't believe it. Lu Jin checked his cultivation level and found that he was an 8th grade warrior, which was quite satisfactory. This made God Li Mu even more curious. The soldier responsible for escorting the supplies handed it over. But due to Lu Jin's pressure, he still stepped forward obediently. The corner of Lu Jin's mouth raised slightly, and then he called Mo Lu Buletin and others to inject all the true energy into the yin-yang true qi altar. A large camp appeared near Shanhaiguan. There were so many people coming and going throughout the camp that it had already formed the prototype of a city. Special supplies. Now, even if the demon Tang comes to invade, he will definitely make you come back defeated. The craftsman did as he was told, injecting his own energy to activate the yin-yang stone. Reporting to the general, all the supplies have been brought, please check them. Ha ha ha, your majesty is truly a god. Such a change made other craftsmen widen their eyes and couldn't believe their own eyes. God Li Mu picked up a stone, and in an instant, he felt a stream of pure qi flowing into his dantian like a mountain spring. I see. The god Li Mu opened the supply box and found that there was a pile of strange-shaped stones inside. What is this? Try to activate it with your qi. With these stones that replenish the vitality, wouldn't my soldiers be invincible? These stones can actually enhance qi, and they are so pure without any side effects. In an instant, an extremely rich Genkai penetrated into his body. On the other side, the border of Manhu, the junction of Yaotang and Manhu. Lu Jin handed the yin-yang stone to the craftsman. God Li Mu was a little puzzled. A few days had passed since the last supply of supplies, and yet another supply transport force came. Soon, the convoy transporting supplies arrived at the border camp. But before Mo Lu Buletin and others could rest, Lu Jin had already started building the second yin-yang qi altar. After a while, the true energy dissipated, and the craftsman's cultivation level returned to the 8th level. Lu Jin watched helplessly as he rose from an 8th level warrior to a 4th level warrior. What kind of special supplies are they? The craftsman who was pointed out was a little confused. Such pure qi. Lord, spend tens of billions of Krypton gold and sign into the god-level arms. Author, Bathing in the Breeze. Chapter 190. Demon Tang, in the palace of Chang'an City. A middle-aged man wearing a dragon robe sat high in the temple, overlooking the civil and military officials below. A faint imperial pressure spread throughout the palace, and everyone lowered their heads deeply, not daring to say a word. The entire court fell into deathly silence. As early as today, news about the demise of Sakura Kingdom has spread throughout the Demon Tang dynasty. Now, from the 80-year-old man to the 3-year-old child, everyone knows about it. And this news was naturally released by the lords of Yaotang. But all civil and military officials knew very well that before the Sakura sank, the monarch of Tang dynasty sent an expeditionary force to the Sakura. Although the true purpose is not known, the current situation is that Sakura is dead and the expeditionary force has disappeared. The face of monarch Yaotang was covered by shadows. No one could see his expression clearly, and no one dared to try to figure out monarch Yaotang's thoughts without permission. At this time, the demon king of Tang dynasty spoke calmly. In this sinking of Sakura Island, besides us, a total of 4 forces appeared. Great Britain, Vikings, Ancient Egypt, and dragons. Speaking of Long Han, everyone's heart skipped a beat. They only knew a little bit about Long Han. First of all, this is a dynasty established by alien lords. For this reason, all the civil and military officials in Yaotang looked down upon Long Han. But in this incident, Long Han was the only force that survived. The expeditionary forces sent by other forces all lost contact without exception. This left them completely confused, and they even doubted whether the sinking of Sakura Kingdom was related to Long Han. Before, we underestimated the dynasty established by this alien lord. According to the information I have received, during this operation, ancient Egypt sent a clone of a god to lead the expeditionary force. What? God's clone? Everyone's hearts tightened. What good thing does the Sakura Island have? It even alarmed the gods. The demon king of Tang dynasty talked about the information he had obtained. But after Sakura Island sank, this god's clone also disappeared. Logically speaking, if the god's clone dies, the cultivation and divine power in the body will be returned to the original body. But after Sakura Island sank, the aura of gods immediately appeared in ancient Egypt. So, this god's clone may not be dead, but is in Long Han. And this also explains something. Long Han must know what happened on Sakura Island. Thinking of this, Lord Yao Tang stood up. The civil and military officials on the stage lowered their heads, and no one dared to look at the demon king of Tang dynasty. Sakura Island sank and Takamagahara collapsed, so where did the gods and divinities of Takamagahara go? The demon king of Tang doesn't care about the life or death of other people. There is only one thing he wants to know, and that is the whereabouts of the godhead. Where is General Hueihua? As soon as he finished speaking, a man stood up in the queue of generals. This person is no ordinary person, he is the famous General Xuerongui. But now, the demon king of Tang dynasty has transferred Xuerongui, and the other generals can't help but feel a little bit in their hearts. You know, Xuerongui's strength is obvious to all. His strength is definitely considered first-rate among military generals. The king of Demon Tang dynasty naturally knew his strength, so he specially dispatched him. I order you to lead 10,000 Suanjia troops to Shanhaiguan and capture it. Take Shanhaiguan? Everyone's eyes lit up, and they all knew that Shanhaiguan was the connection point between Yao Tang and Barbarian Hu. Is your majesty planning to raise troops to attack Barbarian Hu? But the demon king of Tang dynasty didn't think so. He never paid attention to Manhu. The territory of Yaotang is vast. To Yaotang, Manhu is just a piece of chicken rib. The most valuable dragon energy had been captured by Yaotang a few years ago. Therefore, the current Barbarian Hu is basically a barren land, and it is not worth Yaotang's action. But the reason why the Demon King wanted to capture Shanhaiguan was because he planned to find out the details of Long Han. Especially the truth about the sinking of Sakura Island, he must know. Subordinates take orders. At this moment, the horn sounded, and several generals and commanders who were resting immediately stood up. As time goes by, the border will become stronger and stronger. Xuerongui felt excited in his heart. Haha, I didn't expect that Long Han's side hasn't started to take action yet, but the guys on Yaotang's side can't sit still. Unexpectedly, His Majesty actually equipped him with 10,000 Suanjia troops. Naturally, they knew how powerful the Suanjia army was, so they mocked their movements without any hesitation. Yao Tang quickly raised his troops and rushed towards Shanhaiguan. They looked towards Yaotang in the distance. Xuerongui was heading towards them with 10,000 Suanjia troops. Until they reach a certain level of strength, those guys can only bypass the border and enter from the forbidden land next to them. The devil knows what they are thinking. It would be better not to tackle the problem, but we would be happy and free. In Shanhaiguan, many customs guards patrolled the city wall. Come here, send someone to investigate the situation at Shanhaiguan. Recently, it's become harder and harder to recruit refugees from Manhu's side. It won't be long before we run out of new sources of troops. The Suanjia army is a truly elite force. Lu Jin had already made a special statement before this. They can only be forced to huddle themselves in this small border city. The cultivation speed of the entire border force is 10 times that of ordinary forces, and you can get powerful bonuses by staying here. It seems that he can gain another military exploit. But fortunately, the system is not unfair. It would be too delusional to want to capture Shanhaiguan with only 10,000 troops. Alright, brothers, don't be careless and underestimate the enemy. Judging from the attire of the opponent, he is probably the Suanjia army, the elite force of Yaotang. Suanjia army. With 10,000 Suanjia troops, it is not easy to capture Shanhaiguan by himself. Once someone attacks Shanhaiguan, just when they are about to succeed, harvest their results directly. It is precisely because of the bonus from the border that we have reached today step by step. How long has it been since then? Aren't those guys in the south still planning to tackle the problem? Several military commanders were talking. As border guards, they were restricted by the system and could not defect to any camp. The movement in Shanhaiguan quickly attracted the attention of God Li Mu. In the city tower, several generals with second-grade warrior realms gathered together. Huh? Shanhaiguan has begun to take action. Start setting up defenses. After hearing these 3 words, many military commanders also became serious. And these second-level generals were just a few soldiers not long ago. If no one attacks Shanhaiguan, then the status quo will be maintained. Are you still stupid? This place is now Longhan's territory.